Hey everybody, it's MrMilk.
And I'm Bryan D, and welcome to our Zelda Breath of the Wild theory video. So,
So I bet you're pretty confused right now. This is going to be a bit of a different situation. I'm sure if you guys watched what was it, one of the weekly checkup videos? I forget exactly when you
yeah,
mentioned the
it
Zelda
was
thing.
one of our recent weekly vlogs that we did right after the Nintendo Switch announcement, and I had an idea. I was gonna talk about Breath of the Wild during that video, but I knew I would go on for a while. But then I had a good idea, and I knew someone else who would go on for probably 20 times as long as I would go on for. It's MrMilk. It's Chris, and that's why Tom isn't here because Tom doesn't really care about Zelda, and Chris does. And yeah. So we
You
have.
might say so.
You might say he cares a little bit about Zelda, but
A teensy.
tell him how much you care about Zelda.
I so I was told that this video was going to happen, right? And I put together paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs of information for this video. I honestly I do that on my own anyways, but now there's a reason for it.
So to give you guys a little bit of insight on like what this video is going to be looking like, it's mostly going to be Chris talking about his theories, and like we've talked about this a lot since Breath of the Wild was announced. Like all of the trailers that have come out, like we've been putting together our theories here and there. You know, things have come out like they recently decoded that map from the collector's edition. I think is that right?
Yes, that is correct. The masters and the special edition come with a map of it's like a bunch of guardians surrounding the castle, and there's Hylian text around the perimeter of it. I think I don't really remember exactly, but yeah, someone released a translation of it, which we'll get to.
Yeah, which we'll get to later. But basically, this whole thing, how it's going to be going, is Chris going to be doing most of the talking. I'm going to interject here and there with some of my thoughts and my opinions, which may or may not be right. Of course, this is just all a theory. I don't want to say a game theory, but it is a game theory.
Thanks for watching.
Without further ado, Chris, let's get into it.
Yeah, so we'll start off with the easy stuff first. Just kind of general thoughts about the game, and then I will just go really way overboard with the lore and the theories and all of that good stuff. But first off, before we get into that, how amazing does this game look right now?
Oh my god.
After all this stuff we've gotten.
It looks so good, and I'm so excited for it. I literally, after I saw the most recent trailer, I was like, I need a fix. I need something. So I went back. I started playing a little bit of Wind Waker again. Because I got Twilight Princess HD, and I played a little bit of it, and then I went, something else came out around the same time, and I think it was like a little bit after. So I started playing Twilight Princess HD, and then I kind of lost interest in it because something else had come out, and then I want to go back to it right now just to build my hype up for this game because I am so freaking excited, and it looks great. Everything looks so amazing. It has like that cartoony Wind Waker style, but still that real, you know, it's kind of like Twilight Princess-ish, but has that Wind Waker like splash to it of color. You know what I'm talking about?
It's the Wind Waker colors, but it's not as the Wind Waker was really bright, and there
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
much
not
of
as bright. Yeah.
they tossed a little bit of grittiness on it, and it looks super nice. The art style, Brian, is that what did he call it again? That the open air or the gouache.
Open air.
Yeah, so the game looks incredible. Obviously, I've actually wanted like this kind of Zelda game for so long, and just every time the new game comes out, I'm like, all right, this looks great. This looks great too. This looks great. But this is just another level entirely. This is just I don't even know right now.
Like how a lot of the games that have come out, well, I guess all of the games have followed the formula that was created when they made Ocarina of Time for the 64. And this is kind of deviating a little bit from that, but it's like the new Ocarina of Time is what a lot of people are saying, right?
Yeah, it's so the way it's always gone is you collect the 3 MacGuffins, you get your sword, you collect more MacGuffins, and then you fight Ganon and you win. And that's how it's been basically forever.
You get the MacGuffins.
But now they kind of decided, like, okay, we need to actually change things. They wanted to do it with Skyward Sword. Their big plan was like, oh, we're going to shake things up. We're going to change the formula. But then people were kind of mad because they didn't really do much of any of that. But now we're seeing kind of a whole lot more of this shaking everything up. Like, I think there's only 4 temples in this game, for instance, and there's like tons of mini temples. So there's huge changes just across the board.
The mini temples that you're talking about, those are the trials?
Yeah, the trials.
Okay,
there's like
gotcha.
100 of them or something, I think he said.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, definitely. I'm not sure of the exact number. I think it was mentioned at some point during one of the Breath of the Wild presentations from E3, probably. Somewhere around that time, back in like June.
Yeah, I think E3 might have. 100 is in my head. I don't know why, but it might have been around there. But not only does this game look good, but it sounds so good. I mean, we have emotions in a Zelda game, Brian. I don't know if you realize how crazy that is. The characters have emotions. They're crying.
Zelda's crying.
Oh my, I can't even. That's not a thing that's ever happened, which is really weird to say for a series that's had like 30 games, but
yeah, really. This is a completely different step in a different direction for them. But I think it can definitely open new doors for the Zelda franchise as a whole. You know, I really hope that Link. We're going into the voice acting kind of thing now. I really hope Link does not get a voice. You know, he has his voice. You know, he screams when like he swings his sword and stuff, like when he gets hit, stuff like that. But he doesn't talk, and I feel like they need to keep that as him not talking. What are your thoughts on that?
The problem is, and I'll just go into it right away because we're kind of dancing around it, but the sub versus the dub, and I'm not usually one to complain. Like, let me just say, I watch English dubs a whole lot, and I'm usually perfectly fine with them. They're perfectly fine.
Same.
Like any anime, I'm just like, the dub for the most part is fine. I'll watch the sub too. I'm not really picky. I'll just watch whatever. But we got the Switch event. They showed us the sub trailer, and it was super exciting and really good. And eventually they put up on YouTube the dub trailer. I'm like, oh, okay, I can actually hear what these characters sound like now. And I heard Zelda start talking, and she was in the weird British voice, and I wasn't personally a fan. I know people are divided on it. Like, some like the dub better because it sounds more realistic. But I kind of like the sub better because there's more emotions.
I wasn't
sounds more on point.
Exactly thrilled with Zelda's voice. You know, like you just said, she was like British, and I felt like it was maybe like a little bit out of place. But maybe I just want to hear like an American voice for her. But I actually really liked this. The sub one was the first one that I had seen too, and the emotion that was portrayed by the sub voice actor was a million times better than the dub voice actor, at least for Zelda. Because like I know we had talked about this earlier off recording, but Zelda's Japanese voice actor was like literally actually crying, and you could tell that she put so much emotion into that part, and then the dub was kind of just like
yeah, just like, you know, really quiet whimpers,
like whimpering, and it didn't seem right to me. But I think I hope that like the rest of the game there is that emotion there, because I think it does have potential. And that's like one of like the most exciting things, is that this is completely new. We don't know anything. Anything could happen. And who knows? She could turn around and shock the shit out of everyone and be great.
Oh yeah, it's totally true. We've known about this game for, I don't even know, like,
it's been a while.
The first trailer in like 2014, because they said 2015 was the initial release date for this, if I'm correct. I'm trying to remember.
And then it got pushed back so they could, they used a certain word. They wanted to pursue other like creation opportunities or something, and like they scrapped like a whole bunch of the game.
Yeah, I'm like vaguely remembering, because honestly this game has been in the pipeline for just ever. So, but yeah, they pushed it at one point, and they pushed it again to 2016, and then when they realized inevitably that the Wii U was tanking, they pushed it even further so it could meet the Switch launch.
And I think that was a great decision.
Now that we've kind of talked about how amazing this game looks, which very amazing in case there's any doubts now, what kind of stuff are you looking for in this game that you haven't seen yet?
I'm Honestly, I don't know if there's anything new that I kind of want added to the formula. I know that there was, they showed off in one of the E3 trailers or E3 gameplay pieces that they had. I guess it was in the demo that there was like different kind of. I don't want to call them costumes, but they're more like equipment that you can equip. And there were like different zones. Like there was like a really cold area where you take damage if you're not wearing a certain, piece of equipment.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Kind of like, you could put on like the heavy
The
like,
boots.
green shirt or whatever when you're in the
yeah.
snow area, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like those really light like RPG mechanics where you can just micromanage all the equipment or whatever.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting at. There's like, it seems like this game is gonna be kind of like, you can build campfires in this game. And I don't know what exactly, like, maybe you can cook on the campfire. Was that ever? I don't ever remember seeing that, but I know it was.
You cook over a pot. I remember you seeing in the one trailer.
And you can
cook stuff for sure.
You can, yeah.
Increases the effectiveness of the healing items or whatever.
Yes, that's what it was. That's like a lot of like the new stuff. I feel like makes sense. The stuff that they're adding, it makes sense with the direction that they're going. The whole open world kind of thing. I just don't want the game to get to the point where it's like too easy and you have like way too many resources at your disposal. I hope that because in the Great Plateau and the first area that they showed, there were so many resources. Like you cut down a tree and you got like 4 apples, and it's like, wow, that's really a lot for literally one area. And look, there's another tree over there where I can do the same exact thing. I just hope it doesn't get to the point where it's too easy, or maybe there's like a difficulty setting, which there probably will be, knowing the Zelda series. If you beat it once, you'll probably get it's heroic. Is that it? Or
Yeah, I think so. That's more of a recent thing. I think with Skyward Sword that first started. I can't exactly remember.
And then I think Wind Waker HD had it. I'm pretty sure. There's always some kind of extra difficult mode. Like the Ocarina of Time for the GameCube. That edition had the
Master Quest.
The Master Quest, which was, it was mirrored, right? I think.
Yeah, Master Quest took the temples and the arrangements of everything, and they mixed it all up. So if you did the water temple again, it was going to be all different, basically, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. My whole thing is I just want this to be a great game, and it's shaping up to be a great game. I'm really excited, and I know everyone else is really excited too, and definitely for good reason, because this looks like a groundbreaking game easily, and I really think that this is gonna sell big time for Nintendo and get them back on track. Because the Wii U, although it was a good console, I don't have any problems with the Wii U. I know a lot of people were very disappointed with it, but I think Breath of the Wild, other games, which I don't really want to get into now, but like games like Super Mario Odyssey, they're gonna get this console on track, and I think it's gonna be huge for Nintendo.
It's funny because I'm like concerned it's gonna be super hard and super frustrating, because I'm looking at it from the perspective of the weapons and the item durabilities. I look at that and I'm like, oh man, like I get a new bow and suddenly it's gonna break after like 30 minutes of using it.
Kind of adds in some Fire Emblem elements in there.
Yeah, I assume I'm gonna be getting bows and swords just like in every freaking chest, but that's fine, I guess. The alternative is just getting useless rupees in every chest, so we can't have it all.
Exactly, or some heart pieces.
The thing with Zelda is that rupees have just been useless, basically. You use them in the immediate
beginning of the game,
parts of the game, but then you get to a point where you just max out your wallet and there's nothing to spend it on.
And it's like, why do I need rupees anymore?
Yeah, it's the other thing that I really want in this game. I want the items, like the cool items, I want my hook shot. That'd be nice. Although I don't see how the hook shot would even be used in this game, but hook shot would be cool.
It might. I wouldn't doubt it.
And stuff like that.
I know that
I want Sheikah. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know that they showed off some of the items in the E3 gameplay. I know that the Deku Leaf from Wind Waker is kind of there.
Oh yeah, the Deku Leaf, and then there's the Fire Rod, I think.
So there's definitely going to be some items, and I don't want to say that maybe a certain item won't be there, because chances are it just might. Because this game is going to be so big, I feel like they have the opportunities to use all of these different items, for all the different purposes that they've been used for in the past too.
Yeah, that's true. I also hope we get a lot of the Sheikah lore, which So, Ocarina of Time introduced Sheik to us, and Sheik is based on this whole tribe called the Sheikah, and we basically have learned nothing about the Sheikah over
very
like
true.
like the 20 years basically since that game came
Uh-huh.
out.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just hoping, it seems like we are going to get a lot about it, because it seems like all those trials and all the technology stuff is like Sheikah based, because the symbol is everywhere, like the eyeball,
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, the Eye of Truth or something. I
Uh-huh.
forget exactly.
I think you're
Basically,
right. I think that's what it's called.
the Sheikah symbol just like all over the place. And I'm really excited that we're finally going to learn about these like ninja people that we've just never known anything about.
Then it seems like the Sheikah slate is kind of like our aid in this game. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just like this like iPad tablet thing that you're just taking around.
It's
just,
Siri.
Like, getting in the caves.
Link has Siri.
He's got the latest version of iOS installed.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more I want from the game really, but the musical instrument would be good too actually. Link's always kind of had like, he had the ocarina and then he had the Wind Waker, and in Spirit Tracks he had like a pan flute or something, I forget. But I liked I always enjoyed the music-based puzzles, which I'm guessing we're not going to get it this time around, but honestly, with all the amazing things we're getting, I can deal with it. But
Yeah, it's one of those things you could take a loss.
It'd be cool if he had some kind of instrument or something that he was kind of bringing around with him. But it seems like the Sheikah slate's going to be that pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. And it might have like it might be multi-purpose. Who knows? I think that definitely is a possibility, considering it's kind of like an iPad, ancient kind of tablet kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. I had like quirky characters was another thing I wanted, because like a lot of the trailers we hadn't gotten them, but it seems like more recently we've seen all kinds of weird people. Like there's the minstrel guy from the one gameplay trailer who was talking about like he's giving hints as to where he needed to go next. And there's the random bird guy who looks like Falco, who's apparently not Falco.
That ain't Falco.
Yeah. And yeah, it seems like they're showing us more of these characters. I was worried like we hadn't seen any signs of life basically aside from the old man, and I was like, oh man, there's got to be like fun characters in this game, because we always have the weird characters in Zelda. But it seems like we're gonna get plenty of that, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I know that the recent trailer showed a whole bunch of the different characters. The Goron was there. The little bird guy, the Falco. Honestly, we're going to get into this more in the theory section of this video, which is going to be the biggest section, and that's coming, I think it's next, actually, and I think that's going to be the last section we have, because it's so big and massive with the theory, and all of the theory parts within the theory, and the theory within the theory within the theory.
It sounds like you want to talk about the theory, and you know what? That's what we're going to talk about.
We're going to go right into the theory.
Yeah, I think I've pretty much said all the things I want.
Oh, and I don't know if you mentioned this before. I know we were on the topic of sub versus dub, and the voice acting behind this game, but we want the option. Both of us want the option to have a choice between either the sub or the dub using the dual audio, because it has been in recent Nintendo games, and there's also been in popular Nintendo games in the past. I'm pretty sure Melee had both the English voice acting and Japanese voice acting for the characters.
Yeah, you could convert to. There were like 5 or 6 languages I think you could go between. I don't know if it was Awakening or Fates or both, but one of the Fire Emblem games for sure recently had dual audio, so you could go to the Japanese if you wanted, for sure.
I know Fates. I'm pretty sure Fates definitely did. Awakening, I'm not sure, but I also think Awakening did too.
Yeah, it just seems like it's something they understand, and I feel like it would just be an oversight if they didn't let us get the subs. But I'm like, at first I'm like, I can't play this game if I can't have subs. But then I kind of realized that this is Nintendo and we might not get the subs. So I'm like, I have to be okay with the English voices. So I've just been like listening to them again and again, and I'm like, okay, this isn't that bad. I can deal with it probably.
I think
this game's gonna be incredible.
I think another thing that kind of I have a feeling we will get the dual audio option. We'll probably get the choice before the game boots up. And I think what lends me, coming to that conclusion is the fact that the game is launching and the console is launching on the same day worldwide, and there's no region lock on any part of the Nintendo Switch at all. So I think that there is going to be some kind of global feature. Like in the recent Pokemon games, I think since X and Y, you can play in literally any language on the cartridge, which I think is great. I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, I feel like if people want to appreciate the original voice acting, like, why not just let them? And I feel like
exactly.
you should just have all those voice options available at the very least.
Definitely. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. A lot of people are purists like that. And like we said, I don't think either of us are that guy in general, but I don't know. I want my subs this time around.
It's like it's funny because before you were like, I don't really mind, the dub, I like dubs. I don't really mind. And now you're like, subs. I need the fucking subs.
I'm gonna die if I don't get my subs.
All right, so we're gonna move this discussion onto the theory, what we think this game is going to be about, where we think this game is falling on the timeline, because that's huge among Zelda fans. The timeline that was established by the fans and then was revealed to be either canon or false when Hyrule Historia came out and had that huge timeline, which is really cool because I haven't played a lot of the Zelda games. I've only really played Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Those are the two that I've beaten. I've touched other ones here and there, kind of left them, kind of come back to them. I know a lot of their stories because I've watched a lot of videos online, and I've also went to Symphony of the Goddesses, which is an amazing show if you guys haven't seen it. It's Zelda music orchestrated. It goes through, I don't know about the newer version of it because there was like a Master Quest one that might have went through some different ones, but it went through, I think it was A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. Is that right?
Yeah, something to that effect. I think we were at the same show now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
It was Ocarina of Time for sure. They did a Majora's Mask segment at the end. It's like a secret thing. And then they had Wind Waker, a little Spirit Track stuff. I remember. It was like a little sample of everything.
Yeah, they threw a little tidbit of everything in there, which is pretty great. But back on track.
Now, it was funny. I was putting this video together, and I'm like, okay, so we'll start by talking about the timeline and where I think what branch of the timeline it's going to be on. Then I realized I should probably back it up and explain the convoluted Zelda timeline, even briefly, just because, I mean, like, I take that for granted, but I assume a lot of people have no idea what I'll be talking about.
Yeah.
So the timeline starts out just like a straight line, just like sequential, like all the games. Starts out Skyward Sword, where the Master Sword's put together, and like all the lore starts there. And we get to Ocarina of Time, and that's where it gets crazy. So when the events of Ocarina of Time finish, it's like a time travel game. So for some reason, after that game, the timeline splits 3 ways. We have Link goes back to being a child, and then he lives the rest of his life, and that's one timeline. And there's another one where he continues being an adult and lives the rest of his life that way. And then there is a final one where the hero is defeated in battle in Ocarina of Time, and then the timeline continues from there, like that. So it's super convoluted, but it's also super fun to talk about where all the games are going to land when they come out. Now, I am going to say a couple of interesting details from this game that we found out, and then I'm going to explain where I think this game is going to fall on the timeline. So I forget which trailer this was. I think it was the E3 trailer, but there is that weird disembodied voice that we still know nothing about in the cave, the Chica Cave or whatever. And it said, "Link, you are the light, our light, that must shine upon Hyrule once again." So that was kind of interesting. And then later, the most recent trailer, the Deku Tree, we get to see again. And so he meets up with Link, and he says, "That look on your face tells me you have no recollection of me, however." So we're getting this sense that, like, Link's been around here before, that this is someone we know. And you mentioned the map earlier, which it was, like we were saying, it was the map from the Collector's Edition, had some Hylian text on it, and just like, whenever I think I'm the most obsessed with anything, there's always people who are like 10 steps further.
Yeah, there's
like
always those people who take it like way further than you could ever imagine.
Like, not only do people know Hylian and translate it, but they just knew enough to be like, all right, I'm gonna look at this map, which was like, you can't find it in person. It's just in a video. So someone like painstakingly looked at the video where they were looking at the contents and just managed to decipher the entire thing. So more or less, it's talking about, and it's a long paragraph, so I'm just going to give like kind of some tidbits, but they're just talking about how the Sheikah tribe was super prominent back in the day, and there was a big prosperity until basically Ganon attacked, and the hero and the princess attempted to seal the terror, which became known as Calamity Ganon. Divine beasts awoke from 4 directions and deployed a mechanical army, which made the king and his people fearful. They fractured Ganon's power and sealed him, but the Sheikah were banished from the land ever since. So that was another interesting thing. Once again, we're just getting kind of this idea that, okay, this hero has been around here before. This is someone we know. So this is kind of interesting of like, okay, who could this possibly be? Which I feel like it's pretty clear, but we'll get to that in a sec. There's like 2 more things I want to mention. So the Temple of Time, which they show in like the early gameplay footage from E3, it looks like verbatim like the one for Ocarina of Time. I know, Brian, I sent you like tons of images of it when we were obsessing over this game.
Yeah, I remember.
Like, if you take a look at it, like Temple of Time from Breath of the Wild and from Ocarina, maybe we'll put an image up, but it's like, it's uncanny. Like, it was on purpose totally that they made it exactly the same, because there's not a single difference. And there's just otherwise there's just like subtle nods to other games. Like, we have that shot of the sword where they show it, like the camera's panning out and you see the sunlight kind of shining on it and it's all rusted. It's very similar to Link to the Past has a similar thing.
Link to the Past.
Link to the Past has that exact same shot of kind of the sword in the forest, and it's got the light shining on it.
Yep.
And past that, they referenced Zelda 1 briefly too. I remember there was that shot of like Link standing on the cliffside and he's like hunched over, kind of kneeling, like looking at the landscape. And I think they did the same thing for Breath of the Wild, had a similar picture as well. So yeah, all of that, and we kind of, once again, we're getting this idea that this is like this is not a new Link. At least as far as I'm concerned, it's not. Like, it wouldn't make sense to me if it was a new Link. Like, this is someone we've seen before, someone who like messed up at one point and is back. And with that in mind, I think it's the Hero of Time, and that we are on the timeline where the hero failed, where he failed to beat Ganon. Which, I mean, like, every single piece of the lore and every single piece of translation is like, oh, Link, you gotta come and shine the light upon Hyrule again. Or the Deku Tree's like, oh, you don't recognize me. Which, that's the other thing that's interesting is, I don't know if people remember, but in Ocarina of Time, when you beat the Forest Temple, like the old Deku Tree dies at the beginning, but then like the new little sprout comes up.
I think that the big keywords in like some of the stuff to like validate the theories is like, you need to shine your light on Hyrule again, you know, and what the Deku Tree is saying. The face tells me that you have no recollection of me, however, meaning that he has some recollection of the hero, which we think it's that this Deku Tree is the baby Deku Tree, the little sprout that had grown up in the beginning of Ocarina of Time.
Like, once again, the number 100 stuck in my head for some reason, but I think they said 100 years passed since like the great like calamity or whatever.
Yes, it was 100 years. I think in the most recent trailer, right after he said that you have no recollection of me, he said, I think you are now ready to hear what happened 100 years ago. So that's right. It seems that this game is going to be taking place 100 years, if our theory is true, after Link the Hero of Time failed to defeat Ganon in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, which that brings in mind like a whole other little like side note that like I'll mention briefly, but how amazing would it be if we got to play this game and we got to have like a flashback, but we got to play it?
Oh, that would be really cool, actually.
That's what a lot of people were saying. I remember I was reading like Reddit forums and all this other stuff, is that like people were expecting like, oh yeah, some of the footage in this looks like you're going to be able to play the backstory where they fail and all the Guardians come and destroy everything.
That would actually be really interesting, because I was thinking that, we would be able to see at least, like kind of like what had happened after Link was defeated, and what it would show what happened to the kingdom of Hyrule during those 100 years that we've been asleep for in the chamber. Like what exactly happened that, we're one, still alive, two, that we were like asleep in a coma, kind of like in like I don't know, it's like a chamber of some kind. I was going to call it the Sheikah chamber, because I don't really know if there was an official title for it. Was there?
I don't think so, not that I know of. The resurrection shrine or something.
Resurrection shrine. That sounds right.
Yeah, I just think that'd be really cool. That whole idea of like we're gonna go into the past, but you're gonna be able to play it, and you're gonna be able to just like live through this failure, that like this big event that they've been hinting at. But the other thing, which we kind of commented on it already, but the Master Sword in this game is not just called the Master Sword. It's called I believe it's the Master Sword of Resurrection. I remember they've name dropped that a couple times, and that's just lending credence, I think, to the idea that this is a hero who is beaten in battle, and I'm guessing the Sheikah like get together and basically decide they need to put him in like some kind of like healing coma or something. I don't even know, but they'd probably bring him back with the power of the sword, and then the sword gets all rusted and damaged like you see in the trailers, and then we just have to do our usual thing of like, all right, we're gonna fix the sword, we're gonna beat the Ganon, we're gonna save the day again, something like that kind of a thing. But
yeah, it sounds about right.
I don't even understand how it could be on another timeline. I think this is the most popular theory, that it's the Hero of Time, or at least that this is on the Hero Failed timeline.
I know that there's. What were you saying? You continue.
Okay, so because I know that. Why would you put together a whole timeline specifically for the hero failing and not put this game on it? It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, they're talking about this big failure and this big, like, awful thing that happened where the hero messed up, and then, like, we put it on the Wind Waker timeline? Like, where everything's bright and super colorful, like a coloring book? Like, I don't know. It just seems like a weird... Like, why wouldn't you put it on the hero failed timeline? It just seems strange to me.
And I know there are some people who thought it was on the Wind Waker timeline. I think I originally thought it was on the Wind Waker timeline too, because there were little subtle hints here and there. You saw the Koroks. They're there in the forest now. But I am definitely like more on board with the theory now that it's definitely in the Hero Fails timeline.
Yeah, I think it was people's one hang up with this theory was, oh, but why are the Koroks around? Like, because the Koroks are supposed to be, and I'm not up on like the super small details of the lore, but I guess the Koroks became a thing. And the Koroks, in case people don't know, are the little tree guys.
Little leafy dudes.
Yeah, the little tree guys from Wind Waker. I guess they were like the Kokiri kids, but they changed their shapes when like the Great Sea rolled in, or something to that effect. I think that might be the case, but I'm guessing that's kind of like we can excuse that little bit, and we can just assume it's that Anuma just really likes the Koroks. But that's just what I've been going with. Because I mean, like, most everything else fits with this timeline. It's just like, oh, we have the little tree guys that are only supposed to be in Wind Waker, I guess. But yeah, that's like the one hang-up that people have had. And it's like, guys, there's so much other information that's telling us that this is a resurrection, that we're coming back. And I don't know. But
we could just get past this one detail. And
yeah, if we can get past the fact that the little tree dudes are in this game, I think you'll see that this theory is pretty solid. But and then the other question is, so the Temple of Time does not have the Master Sword in it, which I don't know. I guess they can explain that any way they want. Someone probably moved it. Maybe Zelda moved it when everything was getting completely leveled and destroyed. Because it's in like the forest area now.
Yeah, maybe it's possible. Maybe the Koroks, even though we don't want to admit it, maybe they play a bigger role in this game. Maybe they somehow did something. I don't know. It's all
the Koroks all along.
It's all up in the air, honestly. But honestly, this game is definitely gonna come together, full circle, once it's fully released and everyone gets a chance to digest every little piece in the game, because then it'll make more sense, and we'll be able to piece things together much better.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, but I think that more or less covers my theory. Just the gist of it being, this is, well, I guess people aren't convinced that it's the hero of time, but I guess that makes sense. You could say, okay, maybe this is some other hero later on, but once again, like, the hero failed is just like the hero from Ocarina of Time was defeated, so I assume it would be him, but I don't know. I guess people are talking about that too. The fans just will talk just forever about this ridiculous stuff with the theories, but I'm assuming it's going to be the hero of time. We're on the defeated timeline, and it's going to be after Ocarina, but before Link to the Past kind of a situation. Because we have like some remnants of civilization left, and the Master Sword's in the forest, but there's still like remnants of the Temple of Time and all these other old like parts of the Ocarina of Time, like towns are still left over. And by Link to the Past, we kind of get to this fully like, there's a lot more nature in Link to the Past, a lot more grassy areas, but I don't know. I assume it's between those two games, and then we'll go from there. But that's pretty much my theory where it's at.
And I just want to throw one more little tidbit in there that I forgot to say earlier, which I have been saying since I saw him. The old man is 100% without a doubt King Daphnis. I will take it to the grave.
I don't know why you're so hung up on that.
It's him.
I mean,
it's him.
I bet he's gonna be important.
Definitely.
Or maybe not at all.
I think you get weapons from him and stuff, where you can interact with him somehow. I'm not exactly sure yet. There's something with the old man, quote unquote, the old man, but I swear it's him. There's got to be something deeper with him, and he'll get revealed, later on as the plot develops, as the plot thickens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it could be. It could be that he like guides you around, and then you find your stuff, and it's like, oh, I was really the king all along.
just like in Wind Waker.
No, it's on the defeated timeline. We're done.
All right, guys. I think we're just about wrapping up our Breath of the Wild theory video. I think we've got everything out we wanted to say. Is that right, MrMilk?
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. It was a pleasure being here to talk your ear off about random Zelda lore. I love it. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I love talking about this stuff. I know me and him, we talk a lot on Curse and on Facebook and stuff. Like, we share links and stuff, and we just go back and forth. So making a video like this was definitely something that I've wanted to do for a while. We just didn't really have anything to do it with, and since Breath of the Wild is so close to coming out, it just seemed like a perfect fit for the job.
Yeah, I knew I was going to have a blast with it, but I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, man, I hope he finds this interesting. He's not just like, oh man, this is so
I'm
pointless.
just like, yeah, that sounds good, yeah. Even though that's what I was like for half the video. But still, I think we have a pretty solid theory here. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. It's really funny. I just want to say this. I have there's no video in this one because I figured you guys wouldn't want to stare at our faces for this entire video, but have been looking up at the camera the whole time as I continue to look up at the camera the entire time right now while I'm like talking to you guys. It's pretty funny, but yeah, this was a lot of fun to make. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Bryan D.
I'm MrMilk.
And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.